Hey, what's going on guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video concerning the F1 2018 game and I guess future F1 games in general. Obviously, so far we've done 3 of these videos where listing out kind of different ideas we have for the upcoming F1 2018 game and the future, and to my surprise, you guys are still coming out with new ideas in the comments below, so keep them coming in the comments below of this one. Any new ideas you guys have, pop them in the comments, and if there's enough, then there might be another chance for another video like this, because I'm actually surprised, I'm surprised myself, and you guys are surprised me at how many new ideas we actually come up with, because if you think about it in general, F1 games on the surface seem very, linear, so they didn't actually expect there to be this many different kind of little ideas. But like I've mentioned before, especially with F1 games, maybe compared to other sports games, it's all about the kind of little details that all add up to that immersion factor, which we truly haven't got to yet, in my opinion. We're getting pretty close, and each year, we improve upon that immersion factor in career mode, but we haven't fully got up to the heights where I think it could get to, where, FIFA has got to in the past, or other games in general can get to, probably a little bit easier because they're not sports games that come out every year, but we're getting there. But as I said in previous videos, it's the little things, and a lot of these little things are actually good things that I haven't even thought of that you guys are listed below in the last video we did. There'll be a link in the top right, by the way, to that last video we did that I had a really great response, so thank you very much for that, guys. So let's get into it. 10 new things we want to see in the F1 2018 game or future F1 games. So number 1 is going to be a brand new setting for the mechanical failures as a player. So we already know you can get mechanical failures, but that's pretty much only if you wreck your engine to, you're talking like 80% worn, 90% worn, just like they have in other games where you can turn off little, simulation factors. And obviously, like you can already in the game, you can turn off, you can go full simulation damage, or kind of just, full damage, medium damage, and then no damage at all. I think there needs to be a setting, and you guys thought this was a big one. I think I had like over 150 thumbs up on the last video we did. There needs to be a way for the player to incur way more mechanical random failures. Now, obviously, that's a frustrating thing. If you're, let's say the scenario is you're going for a championship and you get a mechanical failure that's pretty much randomized and picked by the game, like one weekend, oh, it's your turn, you're going to get a mechanical failure right now. It might not be very common. We're talking like maybe once or twice a season, but it can randomly happen to you, and it could fall on a race where it's crucial for you to get that race win, or get on the podium, or do whatever, beat your teammate, whatever goal you want to try and get, and it could hit you then, or it could not, and it could just come for a great time. Could be an easy Grand Prix for you, the car's great, a failure comes up, you can drive around it, you can work around it, and you have a damage limitation race that time, and you're fine. But that's obviously what Formula 1 is. You have those peaks and troughs, and that's how harsh the sport can be. We've seen so many times before. Take Daniel Ricciardo, for example, had a failure at Bahrain, really gutting for him, then had a failure the next race, but his team were able to get through it. So, you have a setting that allows for that. If you want that kind of situation, you can go for the full randomized mechanical failure, and then, if it happens, it happens. Or you can just have kind of half and half, so maybe they can reduce the chance in the coding by about 50%, and then you can have it as off, so you don't have any kind of mechanical, basically what we have right now in F1 2017, but vastly increases the chance of you getting a random mechanical failure, be it the MGUH, the MGUK, electronics, the actual ICE, the internal combustion engine itself. Any of these parts can just randomly fail, or even the gearbox having random failure. That does not necessarily have to be dependent on the wear of those parts. Like, you just have a random failure just off the bat, and I think that's something that clearly you guys wanted to maybe see in future F1 games with, as I said, so many thumbs up on the comment last video. Number 2 is a very small one, I'll admit, but again, it's all about those little things that I mentioned. Better team gear and more detail on the team gear and just only the team personnel. How many years now have we seen it, and we kind of all made that joke at the start of the game cycle that, it can be pouring down with rain and the damn engineer is still there out rocking a t-shirt like it's no one's business. Like, he doesn't even give a crap. He's got no umbrella sometimes in front of him, and he's still there. T-shirt, the thinnest trousers you've ever seen, and it's just all fine. No winter jacket, no hoodie up or anything like that. He's all fine with that. He's even got the iPad out, and he doesn't even care about the iPad getting wet. So it would just be nice, little details like that, just to, make common sense. Like, I know it's not the biggest part of an F1 game, but it's kind of like those little things where it's like, it seems like the extra mile could have been gone if you're not going to put the extra mile into other big, huge things that could actually make a big difference. May as well put the final finishing touches of, just allowing an extra texture file of a jacket or a hoodie or something like that, and just different team gear, and also maybe personalized gear to the different drivers as well. This ties into if they were to do more driver interviews and stuff like that, like we've mentioned in previous videos, like those ideas, then have the drivers have the personalized gear. You know, Sebastian Vettel and Raikkonen might have different gearing. I'm trying to think of Fernando Alonso obviously will have his kind of sunglasses sponsor, the company he owns, on the hat instead of Van Dorn, maybe not. Or, you know, Ricciardo and Verstappen having different styles of hats or different logos on their kind of different team kits on the hat and the actual overalls itself. Just having those little details right now, apart from just the helmets, which you already have, of course. Number 3, taking some inspiration from FIFA, having a newspaper kind of part of the career hub to kind of get news in Formula 1. And so that will be a system of, instead of the PR agent maybe telling you something, you have it there. You can read through and they give you a few details. Maybe, you know, something happened in the last race. Let's say 2 AI cars had an altercation that we've, you know, many times in my career mode videos, we've seen 2 AI cars have a crash that's not anything to do with me, but it's interesting to see. Maybe the game can start to actually, you know, do its own plot point, because in my videos, obviously especially in my driver and stuff like that, I try to create stories as to what happens with the AI, but obviously that's me creating the video, and obviously that's not a luxury that you guys have in terms of when you're playing the game by yourself. The game's basically giving you a squat. Maybe the game can actually go that extra distance, give you some actual background story. You know, it's obviously all going to be kind of fake and just, you know, it happens on the track, but it would be nice for them to actually make something out of it. And maybe, I don't know, like we talked about drivers having different perks and traits, maybe, like Motorsport Manager in the previous, I think it was like 2 videos ago that we did that, in the Game Ideas video that we did. Maybe that could play into it. You know, 2 drivers have an altercation, you make a news article about it saying, let's say Ricciardo and Verstappen, just for the sake of ease, Ricciardo and Verstappen had a crash last race, so the newspaper article writes an article about Ricciardo and Verstappen having that kerfuffle, talks about potential rift in the Red Bull team, and that could put a perk and a trait on Ricciardo and Verstappen not liking each other for 1 race duration, or might put on a trait for the team Red Bull on the lookout for a brand new driver. And that plays into then what I mentioned in that video I did about contracts. Again, link in the top right now, you can see that contract offer system idea I kind of pitched to you guys. That could be a way that goes in. Red Bull then have a trait after that kerfuffle that they're looking for a new driver potentially, and that's when the perfect timing for you to then go ask the PR agent, can we look into maybe driving for Red Bull because you're not happy where you are at the moment. Just, you know, playing off other ideas we've had, all these kind of new ideas, kind of ebb and flow with previous ideas we've already had. Number 4, now this is not only for career mode, but also this could tie in quite nicely for online as well. Just the celebration lap, have the cooldown lap, pick up rubber to actually, obviously, like the drivers do, they pick up the marble tires to add to the weight of the car, and then you can, you know, if you've won the championship, you can do donuts. Obviously, not every driver who wins a race does donuts now because you have to try and save the engine, but obviously being the game, you could afford to do that. Or in career mode, it could add to your wear, so you might not want to do that, but online for sure as well. Obviously, we've got the esports coming up. How great would it be if those drivers winning the esports race can actually just go out and celebrate, you know, in style and do donuts on the cooldown lap, whereas all the other drivers have to go past. If you had a great battle with another driver, you can respectively drive next to them, give them a little love tap on the tires or something like that, and you know, just, you know, acknowledge a good battle you had or something like that. I think it'd just be nice to have that kind of moment after the race, you know, because at the end of the day, you're racing hard, racing flat out against AI or against other players online, and then it kind of is over in a blink and over in a flash, and you have the race results pop up. How great would it be just have that cool down moment where you can actually soak in the good race, or, you know, rather bad race you had if you don't want to, if you did have a bad race. Number 5, podium interviews. So move away from just interviews in the career mode hub or anything like that. The actual podium sequence, maybe you have the celebration, yes, of the champagne being spread and everything like that, but how about if they were able to model maybe Martin Brundle? Obviously they can't afford, I don't think Cody's can afford to kind of get so many different personalities in to do the interviews, but if you just had Martin Brundle, face scan him in, and just have his kind of character, if you will, him come out on the podium, and just, you can have some scripted lines that he says every single time about being here at the, you know, insert GP name here, and then how was that race for you, for the race winner, and then the race winner can say some stuff. You have a few scripted lines for that, have it for number 2, number 3, or you don't even have it number 2, number 3, a bit of a cheat out here, you can just have it for number 1, and then it cuts away back to the, you know, the normal screens, the race results screens, but having that another bit of immersion of someone actually coming out to interview them on the podium like they do in real life now, which is a staple of that post-race kind of schedule. Number 6, tailored driver radios. How great would it be if Sebastian Vettel was to get pole position in qualifying, and then you see a little team radio and him going ba 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 ba, or whatever the hell he wants to say really these days, and then he wins the race and he's speaking all that Italian stuff to the team, or, you know, Hamilton saying, "I'm so blessed to be here, or whatever it is. You know, a little bit of a meme from there, but, you know, whatever, you know, actual speech that he would maybe say. Obviously, would be very costly for the team, for Cody's maybe to bring in every single driver to say some few words, but, you know, but how great would that be? Ricciardo comes on and, you know, says that's how it's done, ladies, or whatever, when he comes across the line. Little things like that will just bring a little smile to your face, even if you're not the one winning, to, you know, to hear stuff like that. Number 7, new team goals and tailor team goals that every single race your team as a whole might want to try and aim for, and that means you're going to want to work with your teammate actually a bit more. Like you actually want to work with your teammate, and so you as a team want to try and, you know, have a, I don't know, it might be a setup goal in practice, it might be a qualifying. It might be a specific qualifying goal if we want to beat this specific team. So not only just we want to get 7th place, but we want to beat Force India, or we want to beat you know, Mercedes if you're Ferrari, and having that specific goal rather than just a general I want to come 2nd or 3rd. Obviously, I know that's going to be more work for Cody to do in terms of, you know, going crisscross in terms of every single team has to have a different scenario. But that's what I'm getting at. You know, there needs to be that effort, because now, you know, there's a big foundation that's been laid, but now it's all about the little fine-tuning, a lot of the extra mile to go in terms of making the game from, you know, good to absolutely great. And that kind of ties into number 8, having second driver demand. And I think this is actually quite a big one, to be honest. It's number 8. Maybe it should be number 1 in the video, but I think it's a big thing. Second driver goals. Because when you're not the first driver, it doesn't really matter. Like, you know, there's basically nothing there. You're not treated like a second driver. And there's no, you know, if you get upgraded to equal, it doesn't feel that different, you know what I mean? Like, you try and beat your team at every race, yes, but that's it. Like, there's no actual strain of being the second driver, and no motivation for you to actually maybe work hard to become the equal status in the team, because you're not given any second driver demand. So I wonder, obviously it'd be a pain in the arse, but I'm sure it's a pain in the arse for Kimi Räikkönen every single time he's asked to do some bonkers strategy. So maybe you have the team, you have Jeff on the radio suggesting a bonkers strategy to you because you're the second driver, and so the game is calculated this will actually help your teammate more. So he asks you to do this random strategy, and if you don't follow it, maybe you get a reputation level down from your team. If you ignore the little, like, if it comes up on the bottom right of your screen, do you want to change the strategy, and you say yes, it's going to bump up your reputation with the team. If you say no, it's going to bump down your reputation, and it could indicate that to you by next to the change strategy question mark little thing on your heads up display. It could have in brackets second driver demand, and so you know if you say yes or no, that is going to affect your rapport and kind of your reputation with the team in a good or bad way. And there could be smaller goals, like in qualifying, it could be we want you to help out your teammate by trying to give him a tow maybe. I know that's maybe a bit more of a complex task to ask you, but it could put you out in that scenario. Maybe if you go flying lap and you, yes, I want to take the goal of giving my team a tow, it could then put you straight into the scenario where you're on your out lap, but your teammate's coming up behind you on a flying lap, and so you have to make sure you stay in a good distance to give him that tow, and then you let him bar on purpose, rather than maybe sometimes in qualifying, I know I've done it so many times, I've just not let AI cars behind me pass because I'm stubborn and I want my clean lap in. Or in the race again, you're kind of lined up right by your teammate, there's another driver you both want to try and pass, and so you help him out. You know, the engineer could come over and say, right, we want you to help Fernando out if we're Stoffel Van Dorn, or you're just in Van Dorn's place, obviously in career mode, you're just the driver next to Van Dorn, next to Alonso in the garage. You know, the team could say, we want you to help Fernando out, can you help him get past Daniel Ricciardo up ahead, for example? And so you try and help him out by maybe going side by side with Ricciardo, letting Alonso get a tow off you, and then go down the inside and make a double overtake on him. Very complex, maybe. It sounds it as I'm saying the words out my mouth, but how great would that be? Like, you actually have stuff to do as a second driver, and that's more motivation for you to actually work your ass off and maybe ignore the team orders, but then you go out and win the race by ignoring the team orders, and then the team love you, and then the team are upgraded to equal driver. I feel like that's sort of like a good feeling kind of vibe and story, a tiny little storyline there between you and your teammate and the team as a whole would be awesome. Number 9, it's actually quite an old one actually. There's been time and time again, this been actually brought up, but driving in the pit lane, having free drive in the pit lane. So pull out the garage, it's not just an automatic thing, you have to engage the clutch and drive out the garage. We've seen it, so many other racing games do it, why not the F1 game? You know, just drive out the garage. I know there are complications in terms of maybe online that wouldn't be amazing, so maybe for open lobbies, you have an option to turn that off, but if you're league racing, you would imagine that you have, some sort of trust in your other 19 drivers. Let's say AOR, for example, you could have that setting on. So all the drivers, they can lose and gain time in the pit lane if they're not being clever enough, or if they're too stupid about it in the pit lane in terms of going into their pit box, and then just generally in qualifying or practice, driving at the wrong time, they may get a penalty that gets applied. Or if that's too harsh, then if they think, then you don't apply the penalty. But in career mode, then apply the penalty if you drive out if you drive out too early from when your engineer says, or you make a kerfuffle in the race in the pit lane. If you're driving freely, that's open to you. But again, allowing that accountability to the player, letting him do most of the work, letting us do most of the work, I should say, and having that accountability of, okay, if you don't get it right, you get a penalty, just like in real F1. And finally, number 10, performance sliders. Now, this wouldn't really be for career mode. I think career mode should be career mode. There shouldn't be any enhancement of any kind of aspect of it. It should be, you choose 50% race, you choose, AI difficulty, you choose, if you want full damage or not, and if you, full damage or not, but certain things are locked out, like park firmware is locked, safety cars are locked, and, those kind of a staple parts of F1. So you have those things locked. But this would maybe be more for like a GP mode. So if you wanted to have a more personalized experience, a tailored experience of F1, you could create an entire career season in GP mode, but then you can tweak it to how you want. So performance sliders for dirty air effect, slipstream effect, drag effect, tire wear. So you could have different sliders just like they have in FIFA in terms of sliding that. So I want 100% dirty air, which is the default, the amount the game gives you of dirty air in career mode and online, which is simulated off what the real life races are. And you can slide that down if you want less dirty air. Slipstream effect, you could have 100%, which is what the game thinks the slipstream should be based off real life, and then you can either bump it up to 150, so way more slipstream there. That again ties in, actually, to be honest, that kind of slider could be in the online, because I know a lot of the AOR guys complain about slipstream effect right now in this year's game. Maybe they want more slipstream for better racing online, so you could slide that up to 150, or slide it down if you want it even harder to pass for some reason. And then the same thing with tire wear. I know personally, for me, I hate the one-stops in racing basically right now in the F1 2017 game, so being able to bump up the tire wear is something you could do with this performance slider. Obviously, all these things I do anyway when I'm modding my driver, when I'm making a brand new season of my driver. I like to tailor it to how I want the racing, and I try to create the most entertaining racing I can for you guys to watch. But how great would it be, again, for those of you who don't have the ability to mod the files and actually type in the numbers to decrease or increase slipstream and whatnot, if you guys could just do it with a simple slider. So that's been 10 new things we want in the F1 2018 or future F1 games. I say we because all these ideas have been taken from the comments below of the last video we did from you guys. So once again, thank you guys for commenting below so well in these videos. You guys just keeping up, coming out with great ideas that I haven't even thought of, in terms of random ones that I haven't even mentioned before in videos before. So keep them coming. But if you did enjoy this video once again, be sure to smash that like button. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly F1 content. I've been over. Hope you enjoyed it today, and hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.